Good morning, everyone. Try another way of going live during your broadcasts. What does that mean? Nope, let's not do that. I'm on my phone instead, so okay, comments will appear here. That's what I was looking for. Good morning, everyone. Happy July 4th. I hope you're doing well. I'm choosing to sit outside with my phone instead, so let me know if the audio is bad, or because I can always switch to my computer, especially if those comments don't pop in. I'm happy to do so, but as promised, I'm here for you this morning, July 4th, to chat about some of your stepping stone strategies and strategize anything else that you have going on, hopefully in the implementation. There's very few of you that I know of so far that are implementing your stepping stones and strategies, and I'd love to hear from you. Please put them in the comments, or send me an email. If there was nothing that appeared on the comment last night that I had posted, so I will make mention of the importance of them. And like I said, if you can't hear me because of the planes and cars, just let me know. But I'll make the importance of the stepping stones and what you're doing. I certainly, most of you know my story. You know that I've been in your shoes, and it was real early on in my life. There was I just had a bad relationship with food when I first started down the path of weight loss. When I was really young, I was in my teenage years, 18, 19, 20 years old, and as you know, I didn't know anything about food or nutrition. You know, I thought fat-free Oreos were good for you because they had 10 calories each. I could eat the whole box. And I remember deciding that I would lose weight, and I would count my calories on pieces of paper. I'm sure people thought that I was crazy at that point. And I had, it was the first time that I ever did it, so I had a lot of willpower. I was young, and I remember just foregoing outings with friends and all sorts of stuff because I couldn't track anything. And it definitely became obsessive, and that was my that was my pattern in my brain. Was I was prone to the all or nothing thinking and catastrophic thinking and obsessive thinking, which ties into stress, anxiety, frustration, and overwhelm. And there we go. Okay, my phone said trying to reconnect, so I didn't know if I went dark on you or not. So it was in that moment where I was just up and down and up and down. And the all or nothing had started at that point. And when the all or nothing had started, it really became this maddening game of starting and stopping and being perfect and then binging. And there was no freedom there. It was extremely frustrating. I've gotten, for those of you who resonate with the emotional eating side of things, I absolutely went down that path too. And that's when a lot of the weight came back on. And I had come to this place when I learned the principles of behavior change, and when I started learning more about my brain, which is why all of you are here. When I started doing that, I came to more of acceptance. I changed the way that I was thinking about things. I didn't see the world in this dichotomy of black and white thinking, in this when is the next shoe going to drop kind of catastrophic thinking way. When our thoughts predominantly are in the future, it's stress and anxiety. When they're predominantly in the past, then that's sadness and depression. And I spent a lot of my time in the future in my head. So when I had learned to change the way I think, and learned about my emotions and their chemical state within my body, I stabilized things. Like, my weight came down because I stopped overeating, and I settled into that place for a while. So this is like phase 2. Phase 1 for where you're at is there's the dieting madness, the all or nothing madness. Phase 2 is where things start to calm down. You may or may not see the weight come off of your body that you'd like to, and sometimes that's frustrating, but it's way less frustrating than phase 1 because you have more acceptance in your life. You know more about yourself, and you've started the process of self-examination, and that's where a lot of radical acceptance starts to come in. And there is no time that must be allotted between phase 1 or phase 2 and phase 3. Phase 2, you have to hit phase 2. You have to hit the level of acceptance for what is as what is, without trying to control and change and manipulate what is into something that it's not. And when we spend so much of our time and energy consuming, trying to chew on what is and change what is, then surface, even oftentimes from ourselves. But what does come out from that is our everyday thinking. Because if I believe that, I don't do things right, well, I may be a perfectionist and hope to quell or calm that deeper fear. So perfectionism, all or nothing thinking, catastrophic thinking, obsessive thinking, overthinking, trying to control things I can't control, telling stories that aren't true. These are all habituations of the mind. And brain science tells us that we have a brain inside of our head, but we are not that brain. And our brain develops patterns that we can actually change. Now, the brain itself, again, which we'll talk about more next week, is the brain itself on its most simplistic level. If we're not directing the brain and the brain is directing us, which is happening most of the time, then it's wired for survival and food and procreating. That's it. Those are the three, right? So if we are not directing it, then it is our deeper fears, even though irrational, they're tied to our sense of survival and safety. And so we will do everything to prevent those from happening. So those come out in our everyday thinking, which ultimately drive our everyday emotions. Sometimes we feel as though our emotions are out of our control when we're actually the ones that are creating and producing them and changeable within us. So ultimately, when you start again, and I do want you to succeed at a stepping stone and fail at a stepping stone, and what will happen is you'll start this process of self-examination to understand what's underneath the behavior. And we start to do that. This formula quite gives you, it is the formula where you can learn how to learn about yourself. That's the whole reason that this was developed, was so that you can quite literally learn how to learn about yourself. Because when you learn how to learn about yourself, you are in control of everything in your life, and everything changes. Because this all or nothing behavior that we're playing out here, we're playing out in many other areas of our life. That's causing us stress and frustration and other less than desirable life circumstances and emotions. So when you can start this process of examining the self and being your own teacher and learning how to learn from yourself, that completely changes the game. Because all we'll need to do is to get quiet. In next week's clarity session in negative thinking and stress, I'm going to teach you the inverted triangle model, and this inverted triangle model will show you the very first step in terms of when you do want to start the self-examination process, you got to slow things down. That's a really terrifying place for a lot of people, but that's the first place that you have to go, is to slow things down in your life. And when it may be physical slowing down, for me it is always a physical slowing down. It's a slowing down of your thoughts. You've got 50,000, 70,000 thoughts going on in here, and we got to slow that down. And when you slow that down, which translates to a slowing down of your physicality and your body, then you can start to see more clearly. Busyness in itself is an addiction. Thoughts in itself is an addiction, especially when we cannot slow them down. We can become addicted to our thoughts. We can become addicted to our emotions. We can become addicted to our current life circumstance. And in some way, we can be addicted to our beliefs, even though we're maybe unaware that they're actually running our life. They're still giving us those hits and those chemicals that we're experiencing. So that's the whole point here, is for us to have the formula and understanding where you won't need any other, I could argue that now, where you don't need any more diets, you don't need any more plans, you don't need anything else outside of you to be able to move to where you want to be able to move to through this experience right now that you're having, where this sustainable and permanent weight loss, that's the conversation here. You don't need anything else outside of yourself. A lot of the process of self-examination is all about unlearning and undoing the stuff that doesn't serve you. Unlearning, sometimes you do have to learn the unlearning process, but it's still unlearning nonetheless. A lot of what's driving the unwantedness in your life experience right now, whether that be the weight on your body or the messy mind or the overthinking or the negative thinking, is a faulty sense of morality, the belief in this is right and this is wrong, not feeling loved, a sense of lack, not good enough. Morality was a big one for me. Sometimes when you go down the path of while becoming a dietitian was certainly helpful. I would never take it back. I'm going to be paying that sucker off for a really long time. But when you know too much, like a lot of you do, most of you do, you have so much knowledge. If you notice, we call it, the term we call it is educational mediocrity, where you know so much, but it keeps you in this perpetual state of what is not wanted. I would encourage you to take a look through the process of self-examination, and if there's no other comments, we'll go down this path and stop here today. I would encourage you to take a look at what you believe. This is in your deeper beliefs, is morality, and there's so many layers of this. When you find one, you're going to find another, and it's like this domino, and you're like, does this stop? Is this ever going to your sense of right and wrong. Your sense of right and wrong as it relates to, start with food and your health, and you'll see it trickle into other areas in your life. Start with food or health. But what do you believe to be true about yourself and your world when it comes to right and wrong with food, with nutrition, with exercise, with how you should or shouldn't lose weight, how you should or should not be in your life, what you should or should not do in your life. The right and wrong, it comes with should. When you hear yourself in habits of speech, when you hear the should, you can pick out a right and a wrong. I'm not saying that your morality is wrong. I'm simply wanting to ask you the question of, is your morality serving you for where you want to go? Is the moral compass that you have placed in your life, has it been given to you, or is it adopted? Has it been given to you and adopted, or does it come from you? Have you questioned it? Have you asked the questions of its validity? I'll wait for the plane. When you think about, should I should lower my carbs for weight loss, or I should be exercising 5 days a week, or this is right and wrong, this is good and bad. These are rules that you have placed in your life. But who wrote those rules? Did you write those rules, or did you pick them up from the magazine stand at the grocery store from the woman that lost 300 pounds overnight? Right? Where did we pick them up? And are they right for you? And you'll never know until you start the process of self-inquiry and self-examination. And you just ask, and you run it through yourself. You develop massive amounts of self-trust and self-credibility in this process because you start running it through you. It's very easy to take external cues from the world. I'm asking you to start developing your own path. And that's ultimately throughout my entire process and journey. It's very rare that I went outward. I do like to read. I don't like to read. I like to listen to audiobooks, but I like to read books. I like to go down rabbit holes and learn about things that interest me. It's like I always tell people, life is like this appetizer platter, and you start picking this one up and you taste it and you're like, ooh, those oysters are really delicious. And then you're over here and you pick up some whatever caviar and you're like, ooh, that's disgusting, right? But most of the time in life, we just continue to consume that which we do not like, probably based on a faulty sense of self-worth. But we always go down the path of, well, I don't like this, but I should be eating this. And it's a slippery slope. And so when you start self-examining and inquiring about yourself, go down the paths that interest you, go down those rabbit holes and start asking those questions. I think this is where this live will lead us, since there is no additional questions here, is part of your process of self-examination. When you start a stepping stone and fail a stepping stone, which is what you have to do in this process, is I want you to start asking yourself about morality. About good and bad, right and wrong, where your shoulds come from, and are your shoulds correct? Is what you believe is right or wrong when it comes to your food, your nutrition, your health, and your exercise? Is it even correct? Did you create it, or did you pick it up someplace, and is it adopted thought? That's what I want to ask you. There's a lot of, we have come to a place in 2021 in our world where The diet industry is very, very, very large. There's a lot of information, and we have a lot of ways that we believe we should be doing things because that's what we've been taught. This is the process of unlearning by self-inquiry and self-examination. So start with the right and wrong this weekend. Look up, if you don't even know what morality is, if that's the first time that you're hearing this word, like your moral compass, this would be my process, right? I'd go to the Google machine and I'd put in morality or moral compass, and I'd start to go down rabbit holes and start to understand, like, what is morality and what is right and wrong, and maybe take an inventory of what are the things that you believe to be right and wrong, good or bad, about your weight loss, about your food, about the food that's in the cupboards in your house, and just start to take inventories. Don't change anything, just look. Awareness is like the light in a dark room. So when you turn it on, you start looking, that will lead to the process of changing. Changing comes later. I'm asking you to look first. So just take this weekend, this nice long July 4th weekend, and just look first. Look at good and bad, right and wrong. And you can start to ask. Like, is this right or wrong? Is this good, or is this thing really bad? Or can I do this? And to answer your question that some of you are potentially asking is, how do I know? How do I know if this is right and wrong? This is the first time that you're starting to ask yourself, instead of thinking through things, think about this for a second, and this is where I'll leave you, is, okay, so my brain is the one that has created the sense of right and wrong. So can I go back to my brain I can ask the question of my brain, but can I go and figure out if it's right or wrong from my brain, from the very thing that I'm asking? Because the brain is a tool inside of our head that only has access to past experience. It only has access to past experience. So if it only has access to past experience, can I go back, and when I'm asking about good and bad, right and wrong, the brain is going to go back in the files and files of the life experience that you've ever had, and it's going to pull from that. So if you're going to create something new, can I use my brain? I can't use my brain. We all have a sense of rationality that we can start to tap into. So if I tap a little bit into my rationality, but I can't use my past experience, then I start to develop congruency through my feelings of rightness and wrongness, through I'm trying to give you other words, it's like an in your bones kind of feeling. It's like, sometimes I tell clients, I'm like, well, is there one tiny little baby cell in you, like one cell out of the trillions of cells that you have, that you believe that this could be true? So you want to go past the thinking mind to whatever that is. That could be your feelings, it could be your heart, it could be in your bones, it could be, there's so many things that it could be, and I'm asking you to use anything but your brain to answer that question. And that's how you know. There's a sense, and even though it's small, for some of you, you may not have been listening to this for so long, and when you start to listen to yourself, again, there's so many words here, but you've got to put in your own. I can't put these words into your mouth, otherwise your resistance could turn on and you could stop listening, because your resistance in your brain stops you from moving forward. It could sound like, oh, that's silly, or you don't want to go down that path, or blah, 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 whatever it is. So we got to move past that resistance and start listening. And through this process, you start to develop self-trust. You start to develop credibility with yourself, because now you're writing the rules and you have that capability. It starts with questioning, and it starts with questioning the less than desirable emotions that are coming up for you, the frustration, the overwhelm, the resistance that you're experiencing. That comes from this, and that's how you know. You can pay attention to how it is that you're feeling, and that will tell you about what's going on inside of your head. So I don't see any questions. I hope that was helpful for you. I meant to come on and strategize some stepping stones for you, but we went into the process of self-examination, and the first thing that you can start to self-examine through your stepping stone process, because you got to take action. That's why there's stepping stones. You've got to start taking action first, and that's when everything will start to reveal itself, is when you start to take action. like a lot of us just sit in this place of kind of learning more, or going down those rabbit holes and of just learning, and nothing will come out of that until you meet the frustration inside of you. That's the moment where you can start to self-examine, where you meet that resistance inside of you. And when you do that, that first resistance point I'd like to introduce you to would be morality. You know, where how's your moral compass in terms of not like the worldly kind of moral compass in terms of right and wrong and kindness and all this stuff, which, you know, I could argue I have a deep belief that all humans are innately good and kind, deep inside when you go to the depths of the core of the soul of who we are. But I'm talking about food. I'm just talking about food because we have a moral compass, or a sense of morality around food and nutrition and exercise. And I want you to start challenging that and start that self-examination process around morality. So feel free to put that into the comments. I'll give you one last example before I go is, I mean, we talked about carbohydrates is an easy one. You know, I need to go low carb for weight loss. Well, do you really? I don't know. We got to take a look at, like, you got to take a look at your blood work. If your blood sugar and triglycerides are high, then yes, you probably need to go low carbohydrate for weight loss. But if your triglycerides are within a decent range, then you probably don't need to go low carb for weight loss. If your body processes carbohydrate properly, there's no reason. Like, don't do that to your body if you don't need to. Exercise is another big one that I had taken with me for a long time, and that was, well, if I didn't exercise an hour a day and I wasn't sweating profusely, then it didn't count, right? That's just right and wrong, how exercise should be. That's where morality comes out, shoulds. That's in fact not true. In my third phase, I started losing weight easily, slowly but permanently, because I consistently exercised 20-30 minutes a day, and that's what helped me in that process. So you can see how that should, or that sense of this is correct and this is incorrect, was totally blew it out of the water. And so that's what I want you to challenge, is what you believe to be true, in a sense of right and wrong, good and bad, which often comes out through shoulds. Start self-examining that, put that in the comments this week, and I'd love to hear more from you about that and what you are challenging. Right now, it could be true. It could be true. But I just want you to ask the question of, is it true? And when you start to look at that, then it starts to, it lifts these resistance burdens and baggages off of you. Like, is it really true? I hope that was helpful for you in some way. I wanted to come on and answer some questions. So I don't see anything in the comments. Hi, Joanne. Hey, Lori. Let me know if there's anything that I can do for you guys. I'm sitting outside in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's more like Miami right now. It is, it's drippy, kind of humid, because we actually got rain, which we needed. So, so that's why I keep pushing my glasses up. But, again, I hope that was helpful for you. Have a wonderful, wonderful July 4th weekend. I love you all so much, and I want you to know and remember that this is such a small blip in your journey. That this is strategically placed, whatever you're going through right now in terms of the desire for permanent and sustainable weight loss, is a very small blip in your radar, and it is there because there is more on your path for you of who you're wanting to become in your life, the person that you're wanting to grow into, which I could argue is actually the truth of who you are. And this is part of your becoming process. You have to go through this to get to the more stuff on the other side. This is such a small piece, and it's really not worthy of your frustrations, of your everyday frustrations. It's not worthy of as much energy as we give it sometimes, because it's this big comparatively in the grand scheme of life. So I would encourage you this weekend to remember that it's this big, and to not give it so much of your attention, but get into your life this weekend. Get more into the moments of your life this weekend, and give more of your energy and attention to joy, or the present moment. This moment, even if this moment is like flatlined, give more energy to that than to the frustration, worry, overwhelm, anxieties, sometimes even depression, sadness, and sadness or despair. Because we have that choice when it comes to those emotions. So get into that moment, and that allows you to get into that place of self-inquiry. I love you guys so much. Have a great rest of your July 4th weekend. And I will see you next Saturday. Of course, you know I'm going to be in the group. I'm in the group all week. So I'll see you next Saturday. We're going to go into, I'll take you to my whiteboard. We're going to do that inverted triangle model. And I'm going to show you, to give you more information on the brain to continue your process of self-inquiry. And so you can learn how to slow the momentum of unwanted thinking as it refers to negative thought and stress. All right, guys, that'll be next Saturday. I'll see you. Have a great July 4th weekend.